Chris Carter here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. We're going to talk a lot today about the first day in pads, but we have to talk about the quarterbacks because I thought both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields looked pretty good in the first day in pads. But we'll get to backs on backers, offensive line versus defensive line. We're joined by Alan Saunders. It's going to be a fun episode. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things in the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. As I said before, we're joined by the man himself, Alan Saunders from SteelersNow.com. He's out there in an Airbnb somewhere close to Latrobe because we are out there sweating. I guess we were dodging rain more so on Tuesday, but it was the first day in pads, and we'll get to the hitting. We'll get to the backs on backers, the O-line versus the D-line, but we got to talk about these quarterbacks, Alan. I thought Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, and Fields got most of the work because he's been the guy working with the ones, but he came in 7 shots, looked sharp, threw a perfect fade ball to Pickens that was a one-handed catch versus Joey Porter Jr. Also was perfect in 11 on 11s and 7 on 7s. I thought it was a really good sign for both quarterbacks today.
Yeah, man, I thought Justin Fields was really good today. I thought that was the best I've seen him, not just at camp, but going all the way back through OTAs. I don't remember a day where he was that on point in terms of consistency. You know, you've always seen some flashes, but I thought that was the first day where he put together a whole complete day. And honestly, like, what could you nitpick? There was no mistakes. There was no processing errors, no pocket management problems. He didn't throw an incomplete pass. It was just perfect. It was a perfect day for Justin Fields. And it comes on the day that Russell Wilson returns. And I thought, I watched him throwing the ball around. He looked good. So, didn't do any 11 on 11 work except for handing the ball off in team run period, but did some 7 on 7 stuff. So I think it was a strong day for the offense overall, but I think when you get good quarterback play, you get a whole lot else going with it. And Justin Fields certainly provided that.
Certainly did. We got to talk to him and Russell Wilson. I want to play Fields first real quick to get a sense of what he was talking about. Listen to some of the answers he gives here because he does talk about how he needed to work on his mechanics. Here's Justin Fields after Steelers practice on Tuesday.
Sure.
Did you try to put that ball to George with nobody? With either him or nobody?
Yeah, I mean, no, for sure. One-on-one like that in the end zone, you got to give, the best receiver on the team a chance to make a play. And I was telling somebody over there, 50-50 balls with George isn't really 50-50. He's going to come down with the ball most of the time. So, yeah.
What kind of comfort does that give a quarterback?
I mean, a lot of comfort, when the play breaks down and it's just him and someone else downfield, when you can throw it up and have that much trust in the receiver, that it's going to be him or nobody, and the ball's not going to be, picked off. That just gives a quarterback way more confidence, to give him more chances. So, yeah.
Looked like you had a couple designed runs today. I mean, how much fun is it to be able to do that in pads? And do you do you like the trajectory that you've been on through the first 5 practices out here?
Yeah, I mean, it's super fun, being able to show my legs off a little bit. And, practice was definitely fun today. First day of pads, so a little bit more energy out there. Guys get to hitting a little bit. But, I think, me personally, I think I've been growing and getting better each and every day. And, that's just the goal. So, I think everybody's been doing a great job. We just, focus on getting better each and every day and keeping the energy up.
I think you completed all your passes today. Do you feel like this is maybe the most consistent practice you've had since you've been out here?
I think so. I didn't feel like my mechanics were fully on point, so I'm just going to, try to, continue to work on that and get back to where I want to be with that. But, when the team periods did come, I was just making sure I was getting completions and stuff out there.
What are some of those mechanics?
It's just it's not really something I can put my finger on. It's just a feel, It's kind of like a golfer in a swing. Or I was talking to one of our Matt Baker, he's our quarterback assistant coach, but it's kind of like a golfer when your swing's a little bit off. Something was off, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. So it's just like the whole thing. But as you said, I was glad I was able to get all of my completions. So
Is that something you just need reps to kind of?
it's just kind of getting back in the groove. It's not really reps. It's just that's why I just got a few extra throws after practice just to get like a groove back and kind of like a shooter with the shot. So once it could have had something to do with the pads. First day of pads in a long time since last season. But yeah, I mean I think it's more of a feel.
Both you and Russ seem to have like a really good day completion football. You guys were playing at a high rate. What can you say about the progress that you guys have made as a quarterback room in Arthur Smith's new playbook?
Yeah, I mean I think we've grown a lot since the first day we've been here, and I think that has to do with more time in the playbook and of course more reps on the field with me. The more reps I get, the more comfortable I get with concepts, with plays and stuff like that. So I've just been trying to learn from him, and we've been pushing each other. So
how good has it been for you to get these reps with the first team guys, throwing that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you obviously know George, but just all with that whole unit.
I mean, it's been good. I'm glad I get to get reps in now, and not the first be in a game or something like that. So I mean, it's good getting the guys comfortable, hear my voice in the huddle, getting me comfortable talking to them, and getting me on the same page with them when we're running plays and stuff like that. So it's been good.
Now, any progress that we see in training camp, Alan, it has to be taken with a grain of salt. There's the asterisk. It's training camp. They're just growing. But I do think it's important to see these positive days. The question that I have for Justin Fields is, can he stack these positive days? Because he did have positive days with the Bears. The problem was they just weren't consistent, and that's where he has to come from. But if he's able to work on these mechanics, if this work bears fruit, maybe there is something there that allows him to be a better quarterback. And again, he's not going to be QB1, to start this season. That's not in the cards right now. But again, he needs to set himself up for the opportunity for the Steelers to see that as part of his future. And the more positive days in training camp and preseason games, eventually, the better chance for that.
I mean, look, if he keeps playing like he did today, I don't think we should rule out QB1. Like, how good was he? And then not just the throwing, but then he runs for a touchdown on the read option. And not only is he an incredible athlete and very fast and a very good runner, he's very deceptive with the football. How many guys had their hands on Jaylen Warren while Justin
defense was right on Jaylen
while Justin Fields was in the end zone? Like, there's a skill there that goes beyond the athleticism to be able to run once you have it. He seems pretty good at it. He ran one in a team run period, 20 yards, easy. If he can throw the ball consistently and run the offense consistently, and then he's also going to provide that kind of difference maker as a running, I don't know. I'm not saying we should expect it to happen. He's been inconsistent his entire career, but if he can consistently stack days like today, absolutely we should be thinking about him as QB1.
Very interesting. I want to get more thoughts on that and Russell Wilson. And then, of course, we'll get to backs on backers in the line, O-line versus D-line. We'll get to all of that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, here with Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com. So stick with us. We still got a lot to discuss. But first, I want to remind you this show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the app you can download to your phone today to buy tickets to all your favorite events without it being stressful. Game Time is where you can book tickets to your favorite events, like all the games going on in baseball season right now. And with baseball season underway, you can get your tickets anywhere for Game Time. I do mean anywhere. Whether you're in Pittsburgh and you want to see rookie phenom Paul Skeens pitch on the mound for the Pirates, or you're in Los Angeles, you want to see Shohei Ohtani be a world sensation for the Dodgers, Game Time has got you wherever you go. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. You can even get up to 60% off tickets when you buy them at the last minute for all your sports, concerts, and so many more events. Plus, they have a best price guarantee that can't be beat. If you find tickets in the same section of row for less somewhere else, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference of those prices. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase, or go to the website gametime.co. Terms and conditions apply. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, here with Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com. Alan, real quick, because I didn't want to talk too deeply about this because we didn't know any information, but Jeremy Fowler of ESPN does report there was an injury to Roman Wilson. We saw that, on the field. He came down with an ankle injury, was apparent. He was looked at by trainers and then put on a cart. Now, people need to understand when you're put on a cart at training camp, doesn't mean you're done for the season. It's not like when it happens during a game, but it is a sign that, hey, they want to get you looked at. Jeremy Fowler reports from ESPN literally while we were recording this that Roman Wilson, while he was carted off, is expected to be week to week. They think he'll be okay, but he could miss some time, and the injury doesn't appear to be serious, quote unquote. I think it's a good sign that he'll be back, but these are the important weeks that you need to get implemented into the offense and to assimilate into it. I think this could cost Roman Wilson the early chance to fit in, because I felt like through the first week of camp, he was making a case to be wide receiver 2 in this offense. What are your thoughts on what this could do, and if you think he can bounce back if it only costs him maybe a week?
Yeah, I thought that he entered training camp needing to do a lot to get into what I would call kind of the starting rotate, like to be in that first group of wide receivers that's going to go out there. I thought Calvin Austin was awesome in the spring, and he was pretty far ahead, to be honest. And I thought Roman Wilson was really coming on. I thought he had a really nice first couple of days of training camp and was really starting to stack good days. And it's going to be hard. The offense is going to go a long way while he misses time. I mean, like you said, like I think people hear Cart and they're like, oh, he's, out for the year. Like, you're leaving that field in St. Vincent. Like, I want a cart. I'm mostly healthy. Like it's nothing but hills and long walks. Like, you're not going to have injured guys trying to shake it off over a 500-yard walk uphill to the dorm. Like you're taking the cart no matter what, even if you're only a little bit injured. So yeah, I think, I'm glad. Good news that he's not badly injured. I didn't expect that it would be. He walked off the field under his own power. Seemed like he was okay, but it will be a blow. It's going to make what I thought he already had some work to do, and I think it's going to make it more difficult.
I hear that. I do think there's going to be some pushback on Roman Wilson. This gives Calvin Austin more of a chance to work up for wide receiver, as it does for Van Jefferson, who I think has made some good plays here and there. But let's get back into some quarterback talk. I wanted to play this clip of Russell Wilson because I know that sometimes we can't all see everything. So it was tough for everyone to keep track of what everything was going on. Russell Wilson didn't really get to practice with the team until later in the practice when it was 7-on-7 and then a little bit 11-on-11, but they were kind of easing him back into things. But in my charting of what he did, I did not see him miss a single pass. Every one of his passes were caught and for positive yardage, and most of them went for first downs when they were doing down and distance. I was impressed by his timing of things. Here's Russell Wilson when we got to talk to him after practice on Tuesday.
It seems like both you and Justin completed a high clip in both of your passes today. What can you say about the progress of you guys as a quarterback room and just understanding this playbook and working with your team?
Yeah, the guys are doing a great job. The receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, really understand the concepts, getting open. Offensive line, obviously, too, as well. They're doing a great job of keeping us protected and against a really good defense. So the thing is that it's always a work in progress. We're always working every day, and it's a constant obsession with how we want to be, how we want to go, the intensity of practice. That's what I try to bring every day to practice, is that level of intensity, that level of focus, that level of detail. I think is really critical to be successful, and we're working on it every day.
Russ, would you see on that long one to Connor?
Throw that you had to Connor Hayward, he called it a moon ball, one of the ones that you're famous for. How good did it feel to just be able to air it out?
Yeah, that was sweet. Connor made a huge, big-time play, explosive play down the field. He had a great reaction, was able to launch it down the field to him. He called it a moon ball. He came up to me, thanks for throwing me the moon ball, But it was a good play by him. He did a great job.
Is that a trust that you're able to build with him through some of those off-season workouts when he came out to the West Coast?
Yeah, 1,000%. I think the biggest thing is we just spent a lot of time together, me, Connor, the guys, OTAs, getting the extra work before practice, after practice. All that time is time well spent, and it shows up in a play like that, and it was a really good job by him. And there's a lot more, I think guys, Quez Watkins made a big play down the field on the go ball. Different guys made great plays. I thought that Calvin did a really good job earlier in the day, really routing his guy up and breaking outside and kind of put it over top of the guy. And has a great feel for the game. So these guys are working their tails off, and it's all things that we practice and they spend a lot of time on.
What were you able to learn from the 4 days when you weren't doing as much with these guys?
You're constantly learning, you're constantly watching, growing with your teammates and everything else. I think the best thing is the cool part is the leadership part of it and just being with the guys and spending that time and just that's been the best part about being in Latrobe.
So a lot of different things here from Russell Wilson. One, the man knows how to answer questions and not cross any wires, but still give full-length answers. Guy could run for office. I still say that. But Alan, I know you said you didn't get a chance to watch it, but I thought he was efficient with the ball. He did deliver a moon ball to Connor Hayward down the middle part of the field. I think that it's a good sign to see that he's in rhythm so quickly with the offense. Now, the question will be when he's running full first team against full first team and has to do it play after play after play, how good is he? But Alan, I think this was why the Steelers went and got a guy like Russell Wilson, because he's a guy that can work into an offense, learn it quickly, and be in the system of it. I think these are all just good signs that he is living up to the hype of why they got him.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to start training camp injured, but I think, and clearly the circumstances of his injury were like probably even less the ideal, right? Like, you don't want to get hurt, and you don't want to get hurt like that, like on the run test, doing something kind of dumb. But like, I think collectively the freak out over him missing the first 4 practices was pretty overblown. Like, this guy can throw. He's not going to forget how to throw in 4 days. This guy knows the offense. It's not going to change that much in 4 days. He's been working with all these receivers since May, and he was at every OTA, even though he didn't have to be. He was at every workout gym session, even though he didn't have to be. And he was the one organizing these guys all over the country, getting together during their off time to work. And so that's why you give that guy pole position if you're Mike Tomlin, because he's the guy that keeps it organized, that keeps it all together. He's not going to lose any of that missing 4 days of practice. He looked like he was the same guy he was before.
I feel you there. Let's move forward to some backs on backers talk real quick. We're going to talk backs on backers and offensive line versus defensive line, but I want to lead with backs on backers here. Alan, I thought the offense, that we talked about how they won 7 shots. We talked about how the quarterbacks looked real good. I thought the offense also won backs on backers for the most part. When I looked at those, I thought the running backs showed up. Heck, I thought the tight end showed up. In fact, Mike Tomlin even called out the outside linebackers for not beating the tight ends. Now, I want to point out TJ Watt was not part of these outside linebackers, and Alex Highsmith only went.
I don't think.
Yeah, Highsmith went in the first 2 and split them with Darnell Washington, and that was it. So the starters were not part of this, but Nick Herbig was. Darnell Washington did well against him. Not Najee Harris swept Landon Roberts the first 2 and then split with him the second time they went up. But across the board, I thought the offense looked really good in backs on backers when it came to physicality.
I mean, first of all, Darnell Washington changes the entire dynamic of that drill. Like, it's supposed to be like, oh, I'm the puny little offensive guy who's going to stand here and have to decide whether I want to get run over or I want to step forward and try to be aggressive. And
you don't need to try to be
downside of possibly looking stupid. Darnell Washington has no such choice. He just stands there like the Great Wall of friggin' China, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. It's not fair. It's not the way the drill's supposed to work. They're supposed to be the small guys. He's unstoppable in that thing. And Jaylen Warren, the smallest of the small guys, is the guy who loves it the most. He is just chomping at the bit to go hit somebody. And I'll tell you what, man, Najee Harris was he's a fit. This is a star running back in a contract year out there, challenging the team's biggest, baddest linebacker.
He was calling everybody. He's like, I want you.
Yeah. I think the offense really took it to the defense on the whole. I think Nick Herbig did okay. Peyton Wilson was up and down. There's very few guys on the defense you can really point to be like, oh, he really got the better of him. It was the offense's day all the way around.
I mean, last year, Landon Roberts, I forget who it was, he ended someone's career. He ran over a person in this drill, and that running back no longer was in the NFL after that week. That's how
I did see that he tried a couple moves first this year.
Okay.
Before he bull rushed Najee Harris backwards like 9 yards on the last one.
Yeah.
Like he did choose like some style before he chose violence, but he did eventually choose violence.
Yeah, and to be clear, he won that one, and it was funny because Najee was like, "Oh, okay, Landon, I'm sorry." Like it was kind of like a funny moment there. But I really appreciated being able to see the contention between the two. Even in the last 2 reps that we saw, it was Peyton Wilson versus Jaylen Warren. The first rep, I thought Peyton Wilson got him with a nice little move. The second, Peyton was like, "I'm coming." He bull rushes him, and Jaylen Warren stones him, and you just see both get in each other's faces, and they're like, and like that's the kind of stuff that I think that Mike Tomlin somewhere like in the background is like, yeah, that's what I want to see. Hate each other, but not fighting, but hate each other. That was, I thought that they got a lot of that in a very good way for the Steelers and backs on backers.
Heck yeah. And I was like, what? Pat Freiermuth.
That was
not a blocker, not a blocker by nature, right? He got a win. He kind of walked it off and celebrated, and they called him back. And then, I don't know if he won the next one. It was a pretty 50-50 rep against Jeremiah Moon. But, man, when Pat Freiermuth is winning in backs on backers, that's a real good day for the offense. That's not a shot at Pat. That's not his That's not his forte.
Yeah. When he won, he was like, "Yeah, I'm out," and then like they called him back. And when he won the second time, Alfredo Roberts, the Steelers tight ends coach, was like, "Go catch passes, like we know, like all right, get out of here."
The second one was more like 50-50. You could have given it to Moon. It was whatever.
Right.
The first one was a good win, but yeah, man, I think that's, and again, like you said, no 90 for the defense is a pretty significant.
That's there's a key element not in play here for the defense.
And you going back to Mike Tomlin, that's all part of his plan. Like he doesn't. That's like the defense had been doing real well the first few days of training camp. I thought they were clearly the better unit throughout the non-padded portion. So here's I'm sorry, you don't have your best. You don't have your best guy for this drill right now. Let's see how you handle it without him. Oh, here's a little adversity for you. Now let me see how you deal with that. He's pulling all the strings.
That's Mike Tomlin for you. I want to talk to you about offensive line versus defensive line and how they did in their first day in pads. We'll get to that and hear from Isaac Seumalo, who talked about some of those matchups and what he saw, all here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, here with Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, we'll remind you this show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook in America. I love sports, and there's plenty of action going on right now, and you can take advantage of all of it at FanDuel.com or on the FanDuel app that you can download right to your phone. Right now, you could go in and you can see that there's a lot of action going on. Major League Baseball's in full swing. The WNBA is on a break right now, but because the Olympics are going on, and there's a ton of ways to bet on the Olympics, and there's also big fights every weekend. All of that can be done on an app that's super easy to use, and that's FanDuel. And guess what? All summer long, FanDuel is hooking up all customers. That's returning customers and new customers. And I mean all customers with a boost or a bonus every single day. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Head over to FanDuel.com today and start making the most out of your summer. And that's FanDuel, official sportsbook betting partner of Major League Baseball. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter with Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com. Alan, let's talk about the offensive line versus the defensive line. I only got glimpses at this because I was kind of splitting time between, because I saw Russell Wilson go in, and I really wanted to see him and what he would do when he was throwing in team versus team situations. So I was kind of dipping in and out. But I thought in the glimpses that I saw,
I got notes.
There you go. Oh, we got all the notes. All right, you know what? I'm not even going to give my opinions first. I'm going to let you run through for us your highlights of offensive line versus defensive line. Who won, who lost, what you thought.
Man, it's going to sound like the same conversation we just had during Backs on Backers.
Ooh.
First of all, I think Alex Highsmith probably got the better of Dan Moore. Broderick Jones didn't go. I don't know what's up with that. He did bang his elbow on Sunday, so I wonder
he was injured Sunday,
Yeah, I wonder if he's not 100%. Alex Highsmith probably got the best Dan Moore, but young 76, Troy Fautanu, 2 or 3 reps from TJ Watt.
Woo.
Okay, that's a pretty strong way to start it. No handicap match. No handicap match here. Big guys coming, and I thought Fautanu did pretty well. I really thought across the board. I thought Mason McCormick took 2 or 3 from Isaiah Loudermilk. I thought Zack Fraser swept Monty Adams. Nick Herbig was the big problem for the offense. I don't think anybody blocked him. He got Fautanu once, and he won 2 more. Kyron Johnson was very difficult to block too. I got him down for a couple wins. David Perales had a couple wins. So there were some highlights, but man, I thought like the guys that I think people would be really interested in, like McCormick, Frazier, Fautanu, all having pretty good days is a pretty interesting development there.
I think that is a really interesting development, for the offense to win across the board. There, I mean, maybe the offensive line could have used some Darnell Washington, but to stop Herbig. But it seemed like they didn't need it elsewhere because they were doing pretty well there. I think it's a really good sign for young guys like Fautanu and McCormick and Frazier to win their matchups. Fautanu especially, if Fautanu is winning against TJ Watt in practice, that's going to lead to him getting reps with the ones. I don't care what nobody else says. I don't care what Mike Tomlin tells us in press conferences. They're not going to play around with that. They're going to see what more he has to offer. I think those reps are coming soon. Again, nothing against Dan Moore, but there's a reason you drafted him in the first round. There's a reason you drafted Broderick Jones in the first round. They're going to get those guys soon, and I think it's a very good sign that Fautanu is not in over his head, and in fact is looking good in these practices. But hold on a sec, Alan. I want us to hear from Isaac Seumalo. I got a chance to talk to him in the scrimmages, and we got a chance to talk to him. Here is him when we talked about the overall offensive day, because also running the football in the full 11-on-11, they did very well. Najee Harris looked very strong when they ran the ball. And also, he will also talk about how he thought about the younger players and how they did. But here's Isaac Seumalo when we got to talk to him after practice.
I want to talk about the offensive line, giving you a chance to finally run the ball with the pads on. How'd you guys feel like your first day in pads?
Felt good. It's never going to be perfect, but the pursuit of perfection is always the goal. To be frank, I don't care if we got to run the ball 50 times or throw the ball 50 times. I want to win. Whatever each game kind of determines how the plays are called and score and whatnot. But I look good. Everybody knows Arthur Smith is a run guy, so we got great pieces. 2 really, really good running backs. So it's coming along.
I saw Troy go up against TJ a lot today. How did you feel about what you did first day in pads in California?
You're probably talking about the one-on-ones or something. Yeah, that's a very one-sided drill. He did good, but we all know who TJ is at the end of the day. Everyone's trying to figure out who Troy is and what kind of player. And each day, all 3 of the guys with Troy, Mason, Zack, they're building a really good legacy of tough, smart guys that just want to work and get better. And, Troy's no exception.
So, good notes there from Isaac Seumalo. I do think it's a really good sign that even like Mason McCormick is looking good, a guy that, we all kind of look at as maybe the potential future at guard. What was your thoughts on Zack Fraser, Alan? He was one guy. I saw some of Troy's reps. I saw none of Zack's, and I've heard mixed reviews from those who did watch him closely. How did you think he performed in his first day in pads?
Zack Fraser's a guy who kind of doesn't really have a very pretty style, so it doesn't really translate that well to a one-on-one setting. But I thought he held off. He got pushed back by Monty Adams on the second one, but it was I count slow losses as wins for the offensive line, man. As long as you see it coming, the quarterback can move. It's the ones where you Nick Herbig beat Fautanu inside. It's like, okay, you can't not like that. Can't get beat quick. If you make him go around the end, or if you make him take his time and you kind of plod the steps back, then I call that a win. And I don't think it was pretty. It's not like he was, walling him off or dominating, but I thought Frazier held his own against Mon Adams, and I gave him 2 wins. I didn't think I saw a sack there. There was certainly some pressure, but I don't think I saw a sack there. And so, look, I think Frazier's an interesting guy because he has all this college experience. He's, but when you watch that West Virginia tape, there's only a couple games where there are real NFL defensive tackle. Like the Big 12 is not known for its strong run defense. Okay.
Right.
Like,
right.
And so like, there's only a couple games where you can really like make like good judgments about like how he's going to do against the kind of guys he's going to face on a day in and day out basis. I love the pick. I love the player. I think it's like not exactly clear like how fast he's going to be the guy we saw him in college at the NFL level. I think it's been a little bit of a slow start for him. It's hard to evaluate without pads, but I thought today was a really good day. And I was not expecting the young guys to do as well as they did in that drill. I figured that was an old head kind of thing where that's the one where you're up and holding this on him. He hasn't seen this one yet. I'm gonna bust it out and trick him. And like there was none of that. Like if all that happened is that big old strong Monty Adams wore him down 2.5 seconds into the drill, like, man, I'm giving that as a win for the rookie because he didn't get fooled. He didn't get smoked. He didn't look stupid. He was out there doing his thing in his first ever practice with pads, and Mon's been doing this for 5-6 years.
Absolutely. I think anytime you go up against a veteran who's been in the league and has been on the team for some time and you do well, I think that's a good sign. Sure, and everyone needs time to work, but all across the board, it seems like the Steelers' offense, especially their younger players, look solid. And like you said, I guarantee you there were some meetings after this practice where Mike Tomlin and defensive coaches were like, you're going to take that or you're going to let them do that to us? And there's going to be some retribution when these two sides go up against each other.
I'll say this. We often get backs on backers for the second time in Friday Night Lights. Y'all might want to get to Latrobe on Friday night. That's all I'm saying. Y'all might want to get to Latrobe. They may have ordered extra fireworks courtesy of Mike Tomlin.
I like the sound of this. Get to Friday Night Lights at training camp. Alan, thanks so much for joining us here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. You're a treasure as always to have on the show. Let people know they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
Yeah, at @Saunders_PGH on X, Instagram, and TikTok. PGH Steelers Now and SteelersNow.com is the site's account, and you can check out my podcasts. Now I got 2. Steelers Afternoon Drive with Zachary Smith every Monday through Friday. In the afternoons, then my own thing, Steelers Morning Rush, little 5-minute thing on one topic every morning. And then I'll come over to the Steelers Now YouTube page, so check that out as well.
Absolutely. Check out all the great work that they do now. Do their SteelersNow.com. Alan, thanks so much for joining us. Thank you all for joining us here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. Read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, post-gazette.com. Find me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, breaking down your Pittsburgh Steelers. Back here Thursday. Just a side note, I will not be at the Wednesday practice today. So if you're watching this, I will be at Pitt training camp. My other duties at the Post-Gazette call. But I will be back at training camp on Thursday, and we'll be there again on Friday through Sunday throughout the weekend. So we'll have all of that, but I won't be there to give my daily report. We will have thoughts on practice, though, from those who do cover it. We'll get all that here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Thanks again for tuning in. See you Thursday with more here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.